welcome to Adobe Live. I'm Danielle Morimoto, and I'm your host for this section of today, and I am joined by Jon Sorrentino.
Hi, chat.
Yes, welcome everyone. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We are live from San Francisco right now from the Adobe office. I am a senior experience designer here at Adobe. Jon has so graciously joined us. This is his second day here.
First day was so much fun.
Yeah. It flew by. It went by so quickly.
It raced through.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you really were jamming yesterday.
I'm going to try to take it down a step. You know, I realized that I was absolutely racing to the finish line yesterday, but I think today I feel a little bit, nerves are a little bit calmer today, so I feel pretty good about that.
Good, yeah. You got to ease into it. No, yesterday was great. We will give a quick update after this of sort of like where Jon was in designs yesterday and where he's going to be going through for the rest of today. Before we do that, Ariana, hello again.
Hey,
Thanks
Ariana.
for joining us. We are going to have another chat and win today, so make sure that you're engaging in the chat on Behance and asking any questions for the two of us around process, design, Adobe XD. Riaz, hello. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. We are going to be giving away for the chat and win in about 30 minutes free 100 3x3 sticker mule stickers. And then at around 1:30, we are going to be reviewing Adobe XD Creative Challenges. So I have that up on my screen. We have the Daily Creative Challenge. So check that out here. And it has instructions out on how it works. And you can go to the search and filter. That is today's challenge. And we will be giving feedback at the end of the stream. So we can provide you some feedback when you upload those to Discord. So make sure that you check that out and start working on those if you haven't started already.
Yeah, all the challenges all the submissions that we saw for the challenges yesterday were really, really good. A lot of really awesome moments of putting a little bit of finesse and detail into it. So that was really awesome. Hi, Mom. I just see my mom in the chat.
Mom, hi.
Jordan,
really?
Crawford.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, great.
Riaz, Brett. Hi, everybody in the chat. If you guys could drop your locations, where you guys are chatting from, watching from, that would be awesome.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So funny. Lynn, hi. We have people from Germany joining us, Philly,
Ontario,
all
Canada.
over the place. Yes.
Go Toronto.
Perfect. So I'm just going to hand things over to Jon, and he can give a quick maybe update on summary of where we ended yesterday, what your process of going through things, and then we can keep designing. We're designing in Adobe XD today, and so if you have any questions about the tool itself or his process, let us know in the chat.
Yeah, so yesterday the whole purpose of this project is to make a Transformers kind of bot identifier app. The place that I'm kind of sort of sourcing this information from is from this little website called Transformers University. And they have all this amazing content in addition to being able to identify which Transformer you have. So we went ahead and created a few screens yesterday. I went back after the stream and kind of tidied these up a little bit to set us up and set the kind of the frame for today. So we have our home screen, which is going to be our ID feature, so how you actually find out which bot you have. Then we also have this kind of index screen where it's going to be your place to search for the bot. You can kind of filter through your what they call a faction, or if it's an Autobot or a Decepticon, the year, the series. We have our little character screen here, which is going to be specific to each Transformer, so it's going to have some information about their background, some awesome little stats that the site has provided. And then the TFU, or Transformers University, also has this really neat kind of archive of video content, and they do this podcast, actually still publishing that, so I think that's really cool, and we're going to give a little bit of love to that as well. So today, I think the goal is going to be to take these screens, put a little bit of visual aesthetic to them, kind of pick an idea in terms of branding direction, colors, and things like that, and give it some love and start to make this look a little bit more like an app and not just a phone with some gray boxes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we're going to plan on doing today.
Awesome. And I'm seeing some familiar names in the chat from yesterday. So thanks for joining us again if you joined us yesterday. And if not, you're joining at a great time because, yeah, like you said, we're going to get into some of the visual stuff, which will be fun. But yeah, your process yesterday was like great to see because we went through all the way from starting with like pen and paper sketches and then obviously through your thinking of the wireframes and like getting into like low fidelity, and then today like just building upon that and building this app out.
Yeah, I think it's always nice. Again, it's like super nice to start from like the quickest way. So for me, that's pen and paper, and I can just draw a bunch of boxes or kind of like phone devices and just get a bunch of ideas down. And that really helps me move a lot quicker when it comes to actually putting this into XD and getting those things together. So now, like, you know, as you said, we're going to do some of the visual stuff, and I would love some of the help from the chat. I also believe that Riaz had a question about how to share their XD submissions to the Discord.
To the Discord itself. So make sure that you go to behance.net/challenge/XD and you will find all of your instructions on how to submit and everything like that once you get started through and you watch the video and you get started here with the search and filter. You can download your file here, download the Discord app. Within the Discord app here, we have the XD channel for design feedback. So you can go ahead and just message that on in, and we'll be taking a look at those in an hour and a half.
Perfect.
Yeah. Also, is that your dad in the chat?
Yeah.
We have your whole family. We got everybody coming in the chat. It's great. I was like, whoa.
Awesome.
Little shout out to
mom and dad.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So last night, knowing that we were going to try and do some more visual direction stuff today, I went ahead and put together sort of like this visual board of different Transformers characters. So I'm thinking that we should probably pick between two different themes. One being like a lighter theme, maybe. So if it's, what I'm going to say is direction one is going to kind of focus in more on this kind of color scheme. So a lighter kind of Transformer with some darker details and some kind of brighter primary colors, blues, reds, and yellows. And then direction two would be sort of like a maybe darker background with yellow, red, darker accents as well, and maybe some hints of blue here. So if you guys are watching, if you could pick between one or two, that would be great. This way we can kind of figure out which direction we want to go, which colors we want to use, and that'll kind of inform the rest of the app. So go ahead, type in your responses, one or two, if you have any colors that you specifically like here.
Are these being pulled from, these the
these are all from
you were talking about yesterday?
So these are all from the like original cartoon series that I watched, and I remember Dinobots were some of my favorites, but so this, I believe, the top one over here, this Transformer is an Autobot. His name is Prowl, and he was so cool. He like transformed into like this like really sleek looking Porsche, and his color scheme always stood out. And then also like Megatron, even though he's a Decepticon, his color scheme, like the all kind of like white, red accents, yellows, and blues, they just like something about that always stood out, and I always really liked that one. So, but then also you have like the Dinobots that are always kind of like really awesome.
I was like, is that a dinosaur?
Yeah, they're like T-Rex with like short little arms. And yeah, so I mean, Transformers was great to watch as a kid. You also got to figure out like which Transformers that you liked. And yeah, I love it. So we're seeing we're seeing some twos, we're seeing some ones.
Yeah, a little split, but I think leaning towards two. Okay. Like thinking two is bold is sort of the thought.
All right, I think we're gonna go with two then. I thought the chat was gonna go for one, but we're gonna go for two.
I know, it's like pretty evenly split.
Wait, maybe Scott just put the nail on.
Really?
All right, now we're going with one. Yes.
Are you going with that?
So okay, and then on top of that, we also picked a few different. Not a few different. I picked a typeface. I went onto the Adobe Fonts website and just kind of looked through. You can actually go through your Creative Cloud. And I wanted to pick something that seemed a little bit of sleek, wasn't, was a sans serif because I don't really, when I think of transformers, I don't think of like a serif typeface. I didn't want something that was too geometric, but I wanted something that's sleek, a little bit of sharp, and kind of represented like the transformer like changing shapes. So I picked rubric edge, and I think it's kind of neat. It has all these like interesting corners. This is slightly rounded. The U has this like nice sharp edge here. And I thought this would look really good in the app. And then I also went ahead and put together some icons and an app icon. So chat, again, I need your help.
And I think it's like primarily 2 now on that color situation.
Yeah. So I think, for an app icon, since we picked the first color scheme, for an app icon, do you think we'd want to pick A or B? So if you could type A or B in the chat, and that's the app icon we'll go with, that would be a huge help. Keep in mind, we've already picked sort of the lighter color scheme, but I'll leave it to you. And this is just sort of an idea, like, I think the app will be called like bot ID or something really simple.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask what the inspiration for
this
design was.
Just kind of taking the typeface, the rubric, I basically took it, made it super heavy, extra bold, and I typed out ID, and I thought, I kind of wanted to have something that represented like a bot's face a little bit. I'm kind of getting some like RoboCop vibes here. Actually, I have Illustrator open.
It is kind of like a little, almost like winky face guy.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like a cyborg transformer thing. And basically all I did was I just took ID after I typed it out, and I just messed with the eye a little bit to kind of fit within the kind of like guides of the D. And then I just flipped it over and made a nice smiley face. So that's my app icon.
Awesome.
Nothing too crazy, but I think I think it kind of stands out within your home screen. So okay, I think this is pretty unanimous. A looks like it's just dominating the chat right now. So we're gonna go with we're gonna go with A on that one. So that's cool. So we have our color scheme. The app icon kind of lines up, which is great. And then I also made some additional icons just to kind of use as navigation potentially. So yeah, that is what I did last night to kind of clean it up and set us up for today. And I think the first thing I want to do is jump into this home screen feature. So we kind of were tossed between like having you land on, say, like the podcast and the videos, and then also having like this ID feature. And I think in my head, it sounds like this ID feature would be kind of the reason why you'd come into this all the time, and then having all this peripheral content, you'd want to be able to like jump back and forth potentially. So I also think it's just like this really awesome thing. It's gonna be a cool problem to solve for the day. So with that, we're gonna kind of go into this a little bit more. And then we also had this problem where I had like 4 different tabs here, and looking back at it now, after having kind of cleaned this up a little bit, we kind of just have like 3 different screens, and I think we should probably rethink this now. So I'm gonna do that really quickly. It's still gonna be like this little kind of tab bar at the bottom here. And now that we have a few new icons, actually, hold on, I wanna duplicate all of our artboards. So one thing I like to do is just kind of select all the artboards, and I just wanna duplicate them because I like kind of seeing how the progression from when it started to where we're gonna end today. And just knowing that, like, okay, what things did we change and why, and kind of, it always helps to kind of look back on that. So
I also find, I have a really hard time. Sometimes I go off on a lot of different ideas sometimes, and then I like to be able to go back when I realize, I've gone down a path and maybe it isn't what I actually want, or I like to compare back and forth sometimes. So it's always good to sometimes, my artboards can become a mess, but I end up sort of cleaning it up or like creating versions of different things.
Yeah, it's just really helpful. This way you're also not like deleting anything you may need later on as well, which is, I've learned so many times from that. It's always been like a big problem where it's like, I start moving too quickly and I forget to kind of save some things, or I lose track of them. And out of nowhere, I'm like, I'd really like to have this thing back again. So it just kind of covering a little bit of that, just in case anything does come up, say the client or whatever the project kind of calls for, like you to actually go back. So I'm thinking that it would be cool if the ID kind of like feature existed right in the middle here. So zoom in, we're just going to
can't unsee the face now.
Yeah,
It's one of those
exactly.
things too, like as soon as like you mentioned, oh, it's like the letters I and D that I was playing with, or like the face, like you can't unsee it, right? Like,
Yeah, completely.
but originally it really was just sort of like this geometric thing.
Yeah, so I realized that I have my SVGs here, and I feel if I want to scale them, they actually, like, things start moving around because I think they're just all in shapes. So what I'm gonna do is just jump back to Illustrator, and I'm just gonna export these as like transparent PNGs. And the lovely thing about like going back and forth here is that I can make different assets. So I could just go into here, do a bunch of new assets. I'm gonna do this one.
And Leighton, to answer your question about Chat and Win, so we do have our countdown going on, so just under 14 minutes until Chat and Win. And basically, as long as you're engaging in the chat, we are going to be giving out and announcing a winner in this amount of time. And you can win 100 free 3x3 Sticker Mule stickers. And so that is what will be happening in 13 minutes.
Yeah, and if you don't know how or what you should say in the chat, feel free to ask any questions because, you know, it's always helpful. If you have anything unanswered or anything like that, maybe I've kind of gone through that already and I could definitely kind of lend you some advice or anything. So don't be afraid to, you know, just ask a bunch of questions if you need to. So, okay, we have our transparent PNGs now, which is great. I think I'm gonna leave this at a height of 50. And when I was thinking about some of this like kind of choices for the like shapes and the direction of these shapes, I think like, no. I think there's not a lot of like circles, there's not too many circles in Transformers, so I think like having a lot of like rectangles and squares with rounded edges might be a little bit better. So here's our ID button. And then I'm going to just go in here, scale these guys just ever so slightly. There we go. Perfect. And then this is gonna be our ID button. So I feel like that starts to feel pretty good. I actually want this to be a little bit brighter, so we're gonna use this blue for now.
Jessica's wondering, do you have any favorite like shortcuts?
Shortcuts. In XD specifically, or are you speaking about another app or anything like that? I think
probably XD.
probably my favorite is just being able to like Command D all the artboards. I find myself duplicating artboards constantly because I continue to go down like through different directions and different ideas. So being able to just kind of like really quickly get a ton of artboards out there is super helpful. It also doesn't make me feel like I'm doing too much work, like dragging alt click, you know, all that stuff. So that's always nice.
I love shortcuts. I feel like the ones that are so ingrained in me are just like everything for like the different tools. I'm constantly just going between like the like arrow or shapes or pen tool, text tool, like those are like second nature at this point, which just helps with like efficiency of work. One other one, like while Jon is like working on this, if you head over to my screen, like we have, you know, the daily creative challenges that happen. And so this is a file that I just happen to be in, but like Jon's been talking about like color palette and all of that, and I just want to note like that there are some, don't know if it's really considered a shortcut, but it is something to think about, of something you can use, of like adding all, like your colors, your basic colors or something like that into your assets panel or like your character styles, and it's as easy as sort of like selecting the one that you want and hitting the plus button. Another like sort of shortcut in the colors is to like in your fill, like add it here. So if you're like consistently using certain colors, it can be really nice to have that already set so you don't have to like go and figure out or like get your eyedropper tool out and try to get my eyedropper here and like go and search for it across your artboard.
I'm gonna do that right now, actually.
Yeah, so it's just like sometimes nice to have the ones you know you're definitely gonna use. And the nice thing about putting it in the assets panel is if you have a color consistently across your artboard, so I'm gonna say that it's this gray. If I go in and I edit and I change that color, you'll see like right away across my entire artboard, that color is now changing.
Yeah, and that's something we're definitely gonna be doing a lot today too, is like we kind of have these colors for now, and I think that they'll probably end up changing slightly over time, which is definitely a good thing to be able to just change them across all of the system.
Yeah.
Okay.
How's that icon coming along?
Yeah. Finally getting
Switch
it.
back over.
Let's get this one over here.
Yeah, you can add them to the fill box or the assets panel. Seeing that in the chat.
I figured out how to get my SVGs to scale. Let's see, how tall is that? 40? Perfect.
So we can switch back over to Jon's screen, take a look at what he's working on.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get this navigation just feeling right. I'm gonna take this one as well. And so I realized that when you bring it as an SVG, it's put into an extra group. So you just kind of have to unselect that and then click through, and then you have the ability to edit it pretty freely. So here we go. And then I want to get into this one. I think I should keep that here. Okay, so we have this. I'm gonna take this border off, create a nice little tab here, set that to the back. I think that's also one of my favorite kind of shortcuts is Command back bracket or left bracket or right bracket. It's kind of set it back, bring it to the front, things like that.
Oh, definitely. Very useful.
I always end up doing a lot of that, so that's super helpful.
Kelsey's wondering, like, are there other ways that or how do you keep your workflow agile?
So I think like sometimes agile seems to, for me, is always within like a team setting. So being able to kind of like move quickly, kind of like really figure out like clear goals and objectives is always super helpful. And then that kind of will inform the rest of the process or whatever it may be, like a week sprint or 2-week sprint or something like that. But it's really at the end of that really kind of figuring out like what was completed and what wasn't, and then like kind of recirculating or regrouping about how we kind of tackle that next few steps and things like that. So I think that's always usually kind of helpful. All right, so this is going to be our navigation for right now. And I'm going to just group everything nicely together. And then this will be a component that we can just use across all of the screens. Navigation bar. Cool. All right. And then the next thing I want to do is start to tackle some of this typography. So we're using rubric, and I think we can go ahead and add that into our, so I'm going to make this semi-bold, and actually I'm going to make it a little bit bolder. ID your bot.
Already such a difference, like in the look and feel of like that specific font.
Yeah, right. It starts to feel a little
Nice.
bit more friendly. It kind of feels like there's a little like AI bot talking to you. And then so I think that seems to be a nice heading, and we're just gonna go ahead and make this heading 1. I would probably usually label that with like what the typeface is and things like that, but for our purposes, heading 1 is totally fine right now. And then for this rubric, let's see, let's make this 18. Yeah, okay. What color is, that's what we had, 24. And now that we're kind of seeing like how the type is gonna start playing into this, I don't think having edge to edge feels like kind of right or on brand really. So I think what we'll end up doing is just, I want to take these tabs, and I want to go into here, and I want to mess with this a little bit. So I think like still having sort of like a rectangle shape, but maybe just making it like 150, 140, and then I want to give the edges to be slightly rounder. So we'll just do 10 for now.
So Leighton, the font that he's using is rubric.
Yep.
And we have a couple questions in the chat. Tim was wondering, how do you determine the right size for the nav bars? Like, so it's not too small or too big?
I would definitely say right now our nav bar our nav bar is probably pretty big. This is something that'll change over time, but I think like for right now, just to get a sense of like what the how everything is gonna follow the other elements, things like that, I think that's okay. It'll probably change. I usually like to keep like icons and stuff like that around like 25, 30 pixels, and then kind of space things out accordingly from there. So let's just make this a primary color.
Yeah, great questions. Keep on asking away in the chat. And we'll also be doing our chat and win in less than 5 minutes.
Wow,
so
already.
That's exciting. I know, time flies.
This is the moment where I start feeling the pressure.
Oh no, you're good.
So we're gonna make some colors here. Red. Drag these down. Actually, I can make this another moment of repeat grid. Coming to save the day. Group this together. Repeat grid.
Ooh, yeah, Jessica has an interesting idea. She was like, oh, I'd love to see robot audio in your idea robot. That'd be like
robot
a fun
audio. That would be cool. What is that? What is that like? Is that like for...
I wonder if it's like another choice, like what color is your transformer, what like audio, like what sound is your transformer? I don't know if that's
cool. Or like every time you switch the screen, it like made a sound. It might get annoying after a while, but that would still be pretty funny. Okay, so we have our tiles here. I know that you're able to select things like by color through like red, green is one of them. I think I'm also gonna reference a screenshot that I pulled, so let's see.
And going back to the navigation size, like Brett, I think you're coming in the chat around like using the Adobe XD app, like plugging it in and like getting a feel and looking at the phone and seeing how your design is working, like legibility wise and just like the size and scale of like your icons or your fonts and everything like that, like definitely is a great thing to do.
Yeah, it definitely helps to be able to kind of go back and test these things on your device or on your phone. Let's see, we got blue, we got yellow, red, orange, purple, pink. Let's do brown. And then let's go in here, we need silver. And what else do we need? There's a clear option and there's a white option. So let's make this white, and let's just give this a border. And then let's make this clear. That's gonna be a tough one. That's gray, and then this is gonna be our clear with a border as well. So then I could delete those. And then I wanna have labels here, so let's just say orange. I wanna make all the labels kind of like a dark color. This way we don't have to like choose between which one we decide. And then I'm gonna make this rubric probably semi-bold again. And then I think 16 seems like a good size. And then why don't we just add that to our rubric 16 point. And then I can just start selecting text, making that rubric.
So Riaz has a question around what are your favorite plugins in XD to both you and to me?
I've had a really hard time like finding good plugins. I just don't have the time to really start searching through, and I haven't really found anything that I need to, kind of fulfill with a plugin quite yet. Like I pretty much use XD stock as it is. It's not really too much of like trying to figure out how to, like for what I need to use it for, XD out of the box works for me.
Nice, yeah. And for reference, like if you switch over to my screen really quickly, the plugins, you can access the plugins and discover the plugins that are like compatible with XD. There are quite a few different ones in here, and you can also install them. I've used, and one that I like is Angle, which is basically applying it like your mock-up to like, or your artboards like to an actual mock-up of like it within an iPhone, like at an angle, like, and it does it all basically automatically for you, and you can like update your design and like updates
so
it.
maybe that's one I should get, because I usually end up going into like Photoshop.
I think it's the last one
really
that I used was literally Angle. But yeah, there's some fun ones to explore for sure. But that's a great question. And also, there's different plugins for things like for looking at different like when people are like colorblind or something like that, like the differences and kind of seeing how your designs are working for different abilities like that. And then there's also ones for like language, and then as well as just like design.
Oh, there's
plugins.
a language one too.
Yeah,
That's
the language
awesome.
one is really nice as well to check out. I think I have the angle one is the one I was talking about there. But yeah, we are at our countdown for Chat and Win, and so make sure that if you are not in Behance already, you're heading over to Behance and being active in the chat. And so we are going to head over to Chat and Win.
Awesome.
All right, we're back. Make sure that you're active in the chat. It is Chat and Win time. I see the chat is blowing up, which is great. I don't know if you have a question for the chat just to keep them active or anything that you...
What is your favorite color, chat? That's what we're focusing on right now.
It is, yeah. Do you have a favorite color?
I think so. I think I could probably nail down a favorite color today. I think so. I think it would be like, I think right now my favorite color is orange.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah. I'm like a teal, but like a very specific teal. I don't know if I could.
I'm also doing like trying out this new thing for summer, like where I just try to do like a lot of colors. I usually wear like all black or like, kind of neutral.
Yeah.
And like my sneakers now are like baby blue,
those are
bright orange.
He has some really sick sneaks on. Pull them up.
Oh yeah.
Yes. But congrats to our winner, David Miller. Congratulations, you are the winner of 100 free Sticker Mule stickers.
These are top quality stickers. Yay. David, you're going to have a good time.
Exciting. Yeah. And so if you weren't a winner, don't be too sad because you can still get a discount and you can get, was it 10 stickers for $1?
Yeah.
Something like that. But use this code and you can still go ahead and head on over to Sticker Mule. But congratulations, David Miller. Someone from our team will be reaching out to you to let you know how you can claim your prize. Awesome.
Yeah, that's Sticker Mule stickers are some of the best. And even if you just get 10 stickers, that's 10 opportunities to just place them around all over your house or all over your neighborhood. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
You can't go wrong with stickers. People love stickers.
So we have our grid, and now we're going to move on to this next section. So yesterday we were like talking about after you're able to select your color for your bot, you then are able to kind of like select the form. And there are some like little bits of helper text that they have on the website. And I think this is kind of the reason, because like when you click on something like futuristic, it could be a little confusing. So I'm thinking that we're gonna change this from having these little icons to being like headings with like helper text under it. So we're gonna deal with that. And I just copy and pasted the heading and the text here, so.
Nice. I like how some of the colors that were like described, the favorite colors was like, not just like blue or purple, like some people said that, but there's like Behance blue, like very specific. We have like, Riaz said, cold colors, not intense ones. I know David Miller was saying, I have a favorite color scheme, can't pick a specific color. It is true. I also wonder, like as a designer, sometimes I feel like when people ask me my favorite color, it's like saying just like, red or something. I feel like I need to have like a more clever answer, like just like rattle off like my hex number of like my favorite color.
EF343D.
Wow, yes.
I'm getting to that point where I can start remembering like hex codes and things like that. I actually want to go back in here because I think for the prototype, I have this idea of being able to select the transformer that we're going to try to identify today is going to be this one right here. So I actually need to go back in here and make a black color block. So this one is going to be black, and then we run into our problem here where we need to make it like white text or something. So maybe the way around that is to just pull them out. I think that would be good. So I'm going to ungroup this. So we're already kind of seeing like some of these assumptions break down a little bit, which is always a good thing. And this is why you kind of want to be able to like see where you've come from. So save this, and that is our color. Go back to my layers, color 1. Bring this back over. make this red and group them together. Bring that down. Make this one as well. Blue. Go back
so
and just
Jon
take my
was
colors.
just using, we saw him use it yesterday, but the feature of repeat grid. So that was just like really quick way to like pull it down, create a bunch of repeating elements, and then being able to like adjust them.
Yeah, it helps when you make mistakes and you are able to kind of just like quickly go back and fix them. So I think this is like a great example of just being able to like move as quickly as possible to kind of get those colors back in here after realizing that like when you have a black tile, then that label kind of just disappears. So we need to kind of make sure that doesn't happen. So the way around that is to pull out the label. And I think that solves that. So we're gonna go back in here and make a few more colors. Let's make this one.
And it's sort of like
purple.
we talked about yesterday, where like your designs are like constantly changing, right? Like as you work through the process, and like it's also a lot of the reason we talked about yesterday. Like we start in like low fidelity, like you don't jump straight always. Like sometimes you do, but like in this case, like starting with just like the wireframes and getting a general sense of like how you want the app to work. But then now when you start getting into like visual design choices, you'll find that certain things and elements will change as you go along, just like based off of the nature of your designs.
Yep. Okay, we're gonna fix this. So one thing I wanted to kind of point out here is that when you after you select a color, I really want that kind of like choice to show up at the top here. So we're just gonna say what form is your color transformer, and then down here we're gonna have some headings. So let's make this like 18. Actually, 24 should be fine. I'm gonna set this to auto, and we're gonna have 2 columns again. So one choice is car, truck. And because we're, I think later on, like, if we kind of think about like how this app would live on after this design day, maybe this is a moment where we would start like making illustrations of icons and things like that. But for now, I think like it's totally fine to have these as headings. Helicopter, plane. Let's see.
I think you had train.
Yep, I had train. Well, and because we actually saved them, we
You had
can
a
just
weird
look back.
robot thing
So
or something?
Beast is one of them.
Beast, that's right.
Beast. Whoa. And then we have motorcycle. I want to put futuristic in there. I think that one would be cool. Futuristic. And then space or military was one of them.
And John in the chat mentioned that on the orange on your first one, change the label to orange. So
Thank you, chat.
good catch.
Keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, right?
I totally knew that I did that.
On
Oh, of course, that's my dad. Thanks, Dad. Cool.
Tim, orange is the new black.
Hey,
Clever.
great show on a certain streaming website as well. So, okay, we have our labels here. I think it would be kind of cool if these were spaced out. Maybe we start to put them in these like tiles again as well. Let's see. Let's make this outlined. I think that starts to feel pretty cool. And then maybe under it is our like helper text. So let's go back over to our components. Let's make this 16, and then let's make it like a lighter gray. Helper text 16 point. So cars, race cars, etc. I think this even needs to be smaller. Let's just make that 14.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I think we can go, yep, tiny, cool. So this is gonna be like how we design this like tile here. I'm gonna group that, do another kind of repeat grid. Form 1. And then keep these to the side here. Duplicate this one. And then just another repeat grid.
So we have a question in the chat for you. Which Adobe apps do you use the most in your workflow?
I go back and forth between, I've been using a lot of After Effects recently. it'll probably be XD Illustrator, XD Photoshop and After Effects. Yeah. Illustrator is definitely thrown in there, but I find myself using it less and less. But I think like, you know, the one thing I love about it, like kind of the Creative Cloud, like membership and everything like that, is that all these tools are all there, and I can just jump into one, have another one open. Like I even use Premiere from time to time to kind of like put these together as like a presentation or something. And that is always like really helpful to just have these like, you know, my doc is pretty much like Lightroom, Photoshop, Illustrator, XD, InDesign. Like I'm using these at some point like all the time. So there's never really one where every day is sort of like can be a new one.
Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Okay, so let's do plane, helicopter. I feel like helicopter and plane could be kind of in the same group. So let's just do futuristic. Helicopter, jet, plane. Futuristic could be spaceship. Rocket, and then trucks I'll just delete that from trucks. I have to ungroup this so I can edit them uniquely. Delete that one. Leave this. I'll do train. Delete that. Let's do military. Or actually beast. Bear, dinosaur. Let's say giraffe. And I think that'll be okay for choices now. What else do we have? Motorcycle. Yeah, I think that's fine. Just like these two. These will be our choices. Just gonna clean up this, the height of this. And I wanna just like kind of see what this is looking like. Can I scroll this? Vertical scroll. I think I have to probably make this a little bit taller. Cool. All right, and then if we even go into here, I want this to go just from the screen. We're gonna do slide left. We'll just do ease in, and I think that should be okay. So let's see how that works. Cool. All right, sweet.
Nice.
So now we start to like have a little bit motion. This starts to look like an app, so makes me a lot happier, and it starts to kind of like actually feel like something here. So that's cool. All right, and then I'm gonna delete this and duplicate this screen. And this will be cool because then we have like once you select your color, your form, then you're gonna be kind of like shown a grid of all these different transformers. And I think this is kind of a cool like moment to just show like how XD you're able to like work really cleanly with like having these kind of shapes and then just like dragging images in. So that's gonna be like quick, like really speed up the process. So
nice.
Let's go ahead, ungroup this. I'm gonna just delete these and get this text out of here.
And we have a question in the chat from Nina about if we could talk a bit more about like creating a portfolio presentation.
Yeah, so I think like a kind of the way I've approached it a lot of the time is you know, with anything when you're going for like an interview or you're just showing your work on Behance, I always kind of like to have say like a header or kind of like this like image that sums up the project or at least introduces it in sort of like a really brief way. And then I'll give sort of like a nice little statement about either what I did, what my role was on the team or whatever the project was, maybe about the problem that I needed to solve. And I'll try to keep that to like a few sentences. And then what I've really liked to do recently is to, as I'm going through the project, I'll have my images and different like applications and stuff like that. I like to include little, like a few sentences here and there just to explain something. Not like to kind of just give a little bit of like overview of what maybe the process entailed and things like that. Yeah. I think if you're thinking about it as this like long scrolling page, it's nice to have little moments of information. Even if people just go through them, when they do land on them, it could just be a really interesting moment to kind of like shed a little bit of light of the project. So that's kind of how I approached it. If anyone in the chat has any other ways, like I'd love to kind of try something different. That would be great.
Yeah, how do the rest of you guys deal with portfolios and presentations? I'd say also like around like the portfolio side of things. like you don't have to feel like you have to put everything you've ever worked on in your
Yeah.
portfolio, like really curating it and thinking about projects that you're really proud of. And also I'd say like the type of work that you want to get. Like if you're showing only, you know, like mobile apps, then people will come to you for that type of work. But if you're like really interested in like making videos or getting into illustration, then putting more of that work on your portfolio will help you get that type of work. So I always say that that's always a good idea. And if you're not working on that type of work in your regular job, then trying to find time for like side projects or like, you know, something like this where you're kind of like redesigning something or like coming up with an idea that's just kind of fun, but in order to work on or practice your design skills or to put something on your portfolio so that you get jobs like that.
Yeah, I think the kind of key point that you said there is you want to put the work in that you want more of, and that's really huge because if you have like a ton of, if you're really into illustration and that's what you want to do, but you also have, you know, like websites and stuff like that, and you really don't want that work, some people will come to you and continue to ask you for websites. So if you just don't show them, then that kind of starts to drive and gives them a better sense of what you like to do and what they should hire you for.
Yeah.
So that's really huge. So I just dragged in the images that I saved from earlier, and these are just our transformers that are they are black, and they're gonna say choose is, or let's say, what did I have up here? So choose your black plus car, underlined, and then underlined. And then, so we can go back into prototyping, and I want to click this, and we're gonna do slide left, ease in, and let's see where we're at. So you can click black, we have our car, and then it brings you to the transformer selection, and now we need to figure out our character page. So this is what I was kind of pretty excited about today. If we don't get to the rest of this app, I think like this page will be, we can make this look really good. So once you get to this page, we want to be able to click on this transformer because this is the one that I brought in today. And then we want to be able to go to that unique characters page and kind of read more about it. So it's going to have a little bit more information. It's going to have some background history, some specs and things like that. So it's kind of our moment to make it a little bit more elevated, a little bit more sleeker and Transformers-esque. So I had saved a bunch of images before, and we're going to be using these today to create the character page. So this guy's name is actually Sideswipe. Oh, I'm still in prototype mode.
We talked about your like setup a little bit yesterday because you like brought your own mouse and all of that, but we have a question in the chat about like setting up, but like in the sense of, do you work with like just your laptop? Do you hook it up to your monitor all the time? Like what makes you more efficient in your process?
Having your desk set up is super key, and that's like something I've learned over time. Having a place that you can kind of like come like work on a project for hours, just drop everything, go to sleep, or like walk away, and then come back to is really big for me. So I have a desk at home. I have this laptop usually plugged into a monitor, and I have my mouse, I have my keyboard here, and I just kind of like will be able to work for hours. Yeah. You know, usually either put some music on or, you know, like, I don't know, whatever kind of gets you in that kind of creative mode. Definitely figuring that out when you're starting off will help, because then you just know how to kind of get into a project, how to start a project, and that really helps. That goes a long way. So that's something I've learned over time.
Totally, yeah. I'm in meetings all the time, so I'm generally just on my laptop. I would love to just be able to plug into a monitor, but it's sort of what works for you. But definitely when I'm at home, I'm like, Netflix is on. I have like all these screens everywhere else because I'm like doing designs, but I also like to like be slightly out of it and like in this weird zone. So
do you kind of like, do you usually have something playing in the background like Netflix or something, or is that just?
I do. It's like I'm either listening to music or I have like the shows that I've seen a million times on in the background where I'm not actually paying attention, but it's just something.
Mm-hmm.
Some ambient noise.
I do that a lot too. Like, it's just nice to have that background noise. And, you know, if it's Netflix or if it's like a show on like a series or something, it's just nice to have for some reason. It helps me actually stay creative. So I realized that this heading 1 is like kind of too big for this page, so we're just gonna take it down. And then I wanna make a new, 21 might actually be good. And then I wanna create a new heading 2 over here. 21 point. Okay, cool. So we have our image here. I actually think these are gonna drop below. 24 looks better. I wanna make this helper text. Generation 1. So this is kind of like the series. I also want to include that he is an Autobot. And then this is going to be the year that he was created.
Nice. And yeah, so Daria had a question around what are common things that an employee looks for in a candidate to a junior designer position. And I know some people in the chat have already been responding to that around, you know, if you have school projects, that's good, but also like make-believe projects that are documented well are nice.
Yeah.
Tiny bit of experience in graphic design, illustration, UX design. I would also say just, I think, and to the point of sort of like make-believe projects or school projects, like really just like people are looking at like what's your process? Like are you able to speak towards like your thinking and the process that you went through to get through your designs, as well as obviously like the visual designs themselves or the experience design. Do you have any other thoughts on that too?
I think it's, when you're just starting off as a junior designer, I think it's really helpful to show a little bit of a range. Like you want to, you know, you're coming out of, you know, school, or you're just coming out of this learning, or, you know, you're just stepping out into the market. I think it's really good when you're going for like a junior position or a younger position to show that you actually have a range, but then also mix in, again, like you said, either personal projects or things that you're really passionate about, because they want to know that you can potentially grow here. They want to see that you're going to be a great asset for them, and that they're going to help, you're going to help grow the business, or, you know, whatever it may be. And I think that's usually super, kind of gives you an advantage where over someone that's just showing like purely just projects. I think like being able to kind of meld a little bit of that personality really goes a long way.
Yeah, great questions from the chat. You guys keep them coming.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good questions in terms of like getting a new job and things like that. If you guys have, you know, definitely keep them coming. Definitely helps me design and keep my my hands going. So we make this little card here. I want to actually add a little bit of a drop shadow. I never really know like what is the best absolute drop shadow settings, but I usually kind of keep it like 15%. And I think like that looks okay. Maybe the blur needs to be a little bit bigger, so 8. Keeping it light. And then down here I want to get into this like background history. So I actually pulled up the page here, and we're just gonna like look through. So there's this moment of like all these different modes, there's parts, there's features. I think like one of the things that I want to jump into on this character page almost like immediately, I think would be just like the specs. I think this will also be a really cool moment of kind of just like having this like, if we were to animate it or kind of go through it, it could be cool if like when you got into this page, like everything kind of just slid up or something.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just like deal with this part right now.
And for those of you who might not have been with us yesterday, the site that Jon was just referencing is sort of like that inspiration point. That was a site that has like all of like this repository of all this information around these transformers. And so that was sort of the inspiration. And Jon's been redesigning in Adobe XD his idea of what a mobile application could be for choosing like your bot.
Yeah, for choosing your transformer of choice. Yep, I'm still like messing around trying to get this typography right as we like go through and we start to pull out like, okay, like we want the name of the character to be really big. We want this like background heading to stand, or background history heading to stand out, but maybe it's competing slightly with like the heading of the character. So like maybe we make that like 18, and then we'll move this up. I'm gonna grab this information here. So this website does a great job of like personifying a lot of these characters. And, you know, I think like these are like little important details to have. I think, you know, it kind of like allows that person to connect with like the Transformers brand and the Transformers like universe. So obviously one of the reasons why I love them so much is like they each have this like unique personality, and I think, you know, we should probably have those like shine through a little bit in this app. So here we go. All right, and now this is looking kind of big, so maybe we drop it down to like 13. This way it's not like so text heavy. And then I want to get some more spacing here. Okay, that seems pretty legible. Could deal with that. And then let's go here. Let's go to text specs.
Yeah, and speaking of your process, I mean, it's nice. I feel like, and the thing that you've been doing is like you've been going into like the prototyping or like the preview of your prototype mode to like consistently kind of check like what does this kind of look like actually within the screen, and kind of like this like what exactly
That's
are you
like
checking
my favorite
when you
thing.
do that?
Yeah, I think like just kind of seeing. I think a lot of the times what I get is from like going back and forth is the spacing. That's like a really big thing because you're trying to create like this sort of hierarchy and also this rhythm. So going in and seeing like how the device frames everything up is really nice. And then I think like being able to start like, you know, as we start seeing these headings pop out, it's really helpful to actually see in terms of size. And then later on I would like usually just like put the XD phone or pull up the XD app on my phone and actually go through on there too. We're gonna make this rubric as well. And I think this would be cool as a light gray. And so yesterday we talked about like making these specs kind of like out of a gauge of 3 rather than like out of 10, just to kind of save some time and also save some space on the screen, so we're not having like all these individual blocks. Something that you could play with later on, but I think for now that would be great. State or text spec heading, and then I want to go ahead and start using our colors as well. So I think for text specs, it would be cool if they were like in this like blue. And then this is going to be like our empty gauge. Maybe that's too light. Nope, that was fine. And now I can actually kind of go through and edit this a little bit because I want this to be slightly darker.
Nice, and I will remind you guys that we're about 30 minutes out from our design feedback section of today. So we have our Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge, and I will pull that up on my screen one more time, but there's a description of how it works and everything like that. If you haven't checked it out yet, you still have 30 minutes that you could probably get started and submit that. And today's is the search and filter. So design a search experience that allows users to quickly filter and find relevant food options. And so send those over in Discord, and John and myself will be providing feedback at the end of the countdown. Ooh, other direction. I pointed this way because it looks like that on the screen. Wait.
Over there.
Whoa. We're opposite. I just had that moment that I just realized everything is the opposite.
Yeah, I keep trying to like fix my hair and realize
is it
it's
Paco now? Oh
this
my gosh, I don't want to hear chuckle over there. So much sass from that side of the room. Cool. But yes, so make sure that you get those in by the end of the countdown, and we will provide feedback on your designs.
So I'm just going in here and creating these bars. I was able to kind of just like edit the colors all at once in that assets tab, which is nice. Need also the firepower and the intelligence. And then that should be our specs. Just duplicating these out. Intelligence and then firepower. So I could have made these a repeat grid, but I decided not to because I knew that like these are all different blocks, and I just want to already have them like editable. So because we already made them like 3 little things. Intelligence, I want to say he's pretty smart. I don't think he's gonna have a lot of firepower.
We have a thought in the chat around you could go with blue for Autobots and red for Decepticons.
You could for this. Yeah, that would be great if we had like different character pages or different styles for each I guess faction. So Autobots and Decepticons. I think that would be a really cool update for the app later on. Okay, so we have our tech specs starting to look a little bit better, and now I want to grab another heading because I want to get into the additional figure colors. And like this is just like there's so much information here that they have like all these Transformers toys were like awesome, and you could buy so many different ones and like all the same character but different forms. So they have like all these pictures, which is really cool. And I think also, what else did I bring in here? So these are also the like different modes. So actually I want to do modes. I want to make that like a vertical swipe or horizontal. Yeah, horizontal swipe. Make that 40. And I think I can group this and then just drop my images in. So 2, 3, 4. Oh. Do I have to make this a repeat grid, right?
If you're gonna drop them all in.
So 1, 2, 3. Yay, awesome. So those are the different modes.
But it's nice, so you can drop like multiple images into a repeat grid and it'll lay it all out for you. And similarly with like text files, like text edit files, if you have like pieces of text in there and you drop it into repeat grid, then it'll put all of the text in there too.
I did not know that about the text. I thought it was only images. Mode, mold history, or I think they called this like mold history because like you could definitely, I think like over time as they were making these, they sort of changed in form. So we're just gonna call this figure history. And this is here. So I have 5 images. And I'm just gonna grab those and drop them in. Cool. All right, awesome. Grab this, pop that there. So that's our navigation. And I just want to extend this artboard a little bit so we can get, see the full length. Maybe 13. So let's just see what that looks like. All right, cool. Great. Now I want to make this a vertical. So a vertical, horizontal, sorry. And I have to go into the prototype. Actually, no. I want to make this horizontal. How would I do that?
What are you trying to do?
If I want to make it like a horizontal swipey kind of like bar. I thought it was over here, but nope. All right, we'll come back to that.
I think I'll look into that.
Yeah, for now I think like we should kind of just go through this like prototyping bit to see how we go through the flow. So we have our color, and we're gonna go ahead and pick car, and then this is the part we gotta plug this guy in here. And once you get to this character screen, that should be okay. Click on the character. Awesome. All right, cool. So we can scroll, we can like, see the rest of the specs, the figure history. This is perfect. All right, so we have a little bit of an app going on now. I want to get out of design. I want to just make this slightly longer. And then I want to, all right, I think we have our character screen now. This is good. Some really quick things that we can kind of knock out. We can definitely get into like our video screen really quickly. So we are going to duplicate this, and then I think we should make our little tabs here. So I think for the color, for the active state, maybe we can use our blue or yellow. Yellow looks cool. I'm going to make our little tab up here. I want to grab this, delete that here, and then pull this in as our heading. Yep. And then I want to make the background of this kind of like this purple, actually a little bit later. This will be our selected, and then this will be our active. And so this way you're in a video tab now. And then what I'll do is I'll grab this guy. And I have images saved again, so I'm just going to drop those in. Let's go 1, 2, 3. Let's do 4. Cool.
Ooh, nice.
So we have some like artwork from the YouTube channel now,
Yeah.
and you can kind of see like already it's starting to look a little bit like an actual video screen or video tab here. I'm just gonna clean up these headings. Let's do 21.
And kind of along the lines of what we talked about yesterday around like choosing color palette and like the design of something. Like we talked about like leaving your UI like a little bit cleaner, lighter, like a white or like dark color, just to let like the content pop if you have like really colorful or like very elaborate like content. And like in this case with like these videos, like letting that like the artwork sort of speak for itself, so the rest of it is kind of cleaner is like a nice visual choice. But sometimes, right, like your content might not be
the most
like,
exciting,
the most interesting. Yeah,
sure,
so you could play up like the rest of your design or like the background of your app.
Yeah, I think you know, because like a lot of the Transformers comics and shows are really colorful. I think that's a great point where we're kind of leaving this these elements a little bit more like neutral this way, so that stuff stands out. And immediately as I drop that in, you kind of see like how it jumps out at you. So that's kind of a nice little note to keep track of. I'm in this repeat grid and I want to just get my spacing correct. Sweet, there we go. Where'd you go? I'm gonna ungroup. Come back up. And I'm just gonna clean these guys up. Get my spacing all right. That looks okay. Make this rubric as well. Do we have one? No, that's way too. So let's go ahead and make another regular. This is going to be like our body copy. Let's do 14. Actually, did we make one over here? Yeah, we did. Where did we do this? This is... No. Nope. So I'm going to make this a new head. This is our body copy here. Copy 13 point. Cool. Now we can just go ahead and reuse that. And that makes life a lot easier when you have these like styles. In here, we're going to just get the spacing correct. I think I'm gonna knock out this idea of having like a play button here. I don't want too many play buttons. And I think we should probably make this similar in size.
Yeah, that looks good.
So this is gonna be like, we'll just put the full date. What's today? 6th? June 6th.
The 6th already? I can't believe it's June.
I have my high school reunion this weekend.
Do you really?
So excited.
Oh. Are you excited or are you
I'm actually
nervous?
really
or?
excited.
Okay.
I'm very excited to see everyone that I went to school with. I haven't seen a lot of people in a long time.
Okay. I don't know if I'd go to any of my reunions. I don't know if I'm a
I'm
reunion
totally
person.
I'm so in.
Really?
When I was younger, I had short hair, so it's gonna be funny to see how everyone reacts to having longer hair now.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sure like the difference is like from the last time. You haven't seen people in a long time, like what they look
Yeah,
like.
I would say that like my I haven't really changed in terms of height. I haven't grown much since high school, so but that's okay. Okay, we have our you know, we're keeping it real, we're keeping it short.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. I have my
keeping it real, we're keeping it short. Is that what you just said? I I need like a t-shirt like that.
That would
Keeping
be
it real.
Maybe
Keeping
Sticker
it short.
Mule can like hook us up with some stickers that says "Keeping it real,
Yes,
keeping it short."
Yeah, we need to win the chat and win ourselves.
If my parents want to win that chat and win, that would be
Yeah.
great for tomorrow,
shoot.
maybe. Okay, we have our date here, timestamp. I'm just gonna get the spacing correct here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and reduplicate, make this a repeat grid. Repeat grid. I'm gonna drag that down. Cool. And then I'm just gonna set it to the back because I want it to be behind. And then I'm going to drop them in, and there we go. We start to have a little bit more. Oh, gotta make this longer. Media screen, cool. Okay, now we have a videos tab. This is starting to look awesome. Let's see, what else can we do here? We're not gonna click into anything here. We're not gonna make like a specific video page right now for today. I think what I wanna do next is get this podcast screen looking, giving it some love. Gonna crunch that. Okay, so the podcast screen is gonna be pretty similar. We are gonna grab our little component from this little tabby thing, switch that over here. And then going back into my layers, I want this shape. I'm gonna bring it right over here. Set it to the back a little bit. Then I want this text to be white so it's active, and then this text needs to go back to darker. Cool. And then because we already have this as a repeat grid, I'm gonna give it a little bit more space because I know some of these things are gonna shift around a little bit when I start adding our new styles to them. So let's make this our heading 1. Grab that down a little bit. And then I wanna move this. So I love that when you have these kind of like components set already, if I move the text of one, it shifts across all of the repeat grid, which is great to have. And that's why I kind of went ahead and redid it on this one as well, because when you don't have to go into each like single component and do that all one by one, like it just helps the process go so much quicker.
Totally.
And we're gonna do the same thing here where we drop an image into the podcast album, and that goes across the whole thing. So that's like always great to have.
Do they actually have a podcast?
They do have a podcast. Oh. If you guys are, wanting to learn more about the Transformers world, go listen to TFU. It's definitely. I actually listened to a few episodes while I was designing this morning.
Did you really? I mean, Jessica in the chat was wondering, what are your favorite design or non-design podcasts? I'd also throw it back at you guys in the chat. Let us know what your favorites
are. If the chat can tell me their favorite design, or tell us their favorite design podcast or kind of like creative podcast, then I will go ahead. We'll kind of rattle off a few there, because I listen to a ton of podcasts now. So if you guys have any recommendations, I'm always looking to listen to new ones. Let's see, let's make this colored, cool. And then I want to just like kind of make this a little cool, like.
I have a podcast recommendation. Our friend Koi has a podcast that's design related called Wireframe, so I would check that out.
I actually listened to that on the flight here. Yeah, okay. Koi Vin is like really kind of like inspirational.
Shout out Koi! Yeah, Koi's great. But yeah, he was working on this podcast and it came out recently. And they work with Gimlet, and so they have like one of my favorite episodes. Like talks a bit about like, I don't know if you remember that emergency like in Hawaii where like they accidentally like said that there was like a missile like that was coming towards Hawaii or something like that, right? And so like they sent out an alert to like everyone on the island, right? But it basically like they talk through how it's actually like this design problem, like how like it isn't really like the fault of the person who is like hit the button. It was like the fact that like how could you actually. What is the design of something that's so bad that like you accidentally hit that button, right? Like it should be more difficult than it actually was, and so they dive into like the design a little bit, which is like pretty funny.
So I think let's see, we have a UX podcast, Moth for storytelling. I've heard a lot of good things about Moth.
Yep.
Product Breakfast Club. That's a new one. I have never heard of that one. That looks awesome. Let's see what else. I think one of my favorite ones, and I think like anyone in the chat should listen to this. Debbie Millman's Design Matters is like kind of like a staple. She's been doing it for a few years now. She teaches at a design school. She's really intelligent, really awesome. I would definitely recommend that podcast for everyone. And then some of the, I mean, I don't know, do you have any other design ones or?
I mean, not very specifically to design, but I also love just like how this was made. Like just hearing about general people's like, it's kind of a process-esque type thing, but just really like how people ended up building like these different products or brands or whatever services that we all use. But like hearing about like the ins and outs of it is like really interesting.
Yeah, how it's made is or how I built this
Something
is really
like that,
good.
yeah.
I listen to like Reply All and from Gimlet. Like a lot of the Gimlet podcasts are really good too because they kind of go into like these little like they explore a lot of topics and it kind of relates to design a little bit because you start to hear the information, how it's presented and stuff like that. So definitely check those out again. But Design Matters is definitely a big one that I would strongly recommend to anyone. Debbie talks to a lot of like famous designers. Product design artists, writers, actors, and I don't know about actors actually, but it's just really great conversations and they're really good to learn from. So I think I found this really neat. So with Repeat Grid, we could do like things like components, but we also kind of have this need to make like this audio wave so it's not just like a bar. And I think that we can use Repeat Grid here to kind of make it look a little bit cooler, maybe a little bit more robot-esque. And then I can like adjust it here, 3 pixels, and now we kind of have this like cool audio wave.
Nice.
So instead of it just being like a boring kind of like bar that you scroll through or scrub through, like we have this like cool little design element that sort of seems like a little bit more on brand for like Transformers. And yeah, I'm actually really happy with this.
It looks great.
This is cool.
It's great to see like the process too of like coming from like where we started yesterday, like just in sketches and everything, and like it's always nice like you're like making all this stuff live in like a very short amount of time.
Yeah, we're moving quickly, which I feel it's weird. It's like after the first hour now, I feel a lot calmer than like when I started, which is good because I think like we're actually starting to make like this app is starting to take shape, which is really exciting to see. So like we can go through. We have our little like colors or kind of like choose or find your bot here. And what I want to be able to do actually is I want to have a little back button here just for now. So it's not like a dead end. We can kind of go back. Say you click into this in the wrong one. So I just want to make this back button really quickly. Right there. Probably not the best use of space, but that's okay. Just to kind of see. And then when we go into prototype, you should be able to click back to that. Slide right. Cool. And then what I also want to do is I want to prototype this so that we can go into our video screen. Slide right because I want it to come in. When you land on the home screen, I want it to come in from the left side of the screen. So slide right, ease in, that's fine. And then this, you're gonna land on your video screen, but then when you click this, you should go over to that. And I think like it should just kind of like fade. Let's see, dissolve. I don't know, let's try it out. So we have to start here. Cool. Awesome. All right, now we have to be able to click back. So go back, dissolve. And I think we're actually, you know what? Like I think we could even kind of make it like, we could probably make it actually like slide in left or right or something instead of dissolving because that feels a little weird. Push left, let's do that. And then push right. Okay, cool. So let's see how this goes. So we click on our video tab. All right, it's there. It's not entirely, but that's okay. I think like we're starting to get a feel for this, like the way this app moves. I want to go back into my design tab here, and I just want to copy and paste this here so everything looks a little bit similar. So I think you can kind of imagine like if this was like a tab, like almost like a turn on, like a switch or a toggle. This toggle would move over, and then the videos and podcasts would like slide in and out. And I think we could probably get that to look a little bit smoother. We would have to grab this.
And while you're doing that, I do want to point out that we have about 10 minutes until we're going to jump into feedback on the Adobe XD challenge for today. So make sure that you're starting to wrap those up or send those into Discord so that we can take a look and provide feedback on those designs.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a lot of the search and filter stuff. Like that's always, like if you think about how you go through when you're going to Google or when you're going to Amazon or any of those kind of like big websites that you frequent a lot, like search is a huge, huge feature. So it's going to be really interesting to see how people have approached it today.
Definitely.
Okay, so we have like our video, our content screens. I think the next thing we could probably knock out is just like this really quickly like index screen. And which is crazy because we already have like a ton, like we've gone through a lot of the app from yesterday. We have a little bit better of a visual direction. Maybe we'll put a little bit more polish on this and start to use more of those colors. So for our index screen, we don't have much here. We need to be able to jump into like our categories. This is going to be where you can also like search for your transformer. And then I think this will really be just like a lot of styling and formatting. So we can take this, let's go 20, let's make this like 16. Yeah, I think that's okay. And I'm just gonna go to TFU real quick. I'm gonna go to Transformers, I'm gonna click A, and I'm just gonna copy and paste these real quick.
TFU Transformer
University.
University. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to. Whoa. So I'm going to make a new text box, and I'm going to do. So I'm just going to space these out really quickly. Give it enough space. All right, that's cool. And we have this weird outline. We do not need that. And I want to make this one kind of like, I want this kind of to be like a contact list almost, where you're able to kind of click in, and starting with like how you kind of show like you're starting at A. So we'll go here. 5. Get my spacing a little bit. And then what I'll do here, I want to make this little like sidebar that you can kind of like scroll through or hyper scroll. So A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah, with really long lists, like having like some way to jump through, and that is like a common, I feel like, UI piece now to be able to have some type of scrollable element.
Especially like when you have information like this website, because there are so many transformers out there that you kind of need to be able to like kind of just jump sections without having to maybe like go off page or anything like that.
I have to be honest, before the stream I did not realize that there were so many
I didn't realize either, to be quite honest. I thought Transformers for the most part, there was like Optimus Prime, his gang of like 15, robots.
Yeah.
And then like Megatron and his gang, and that's not the case at all. There are a lot of Transformers out there. Jeez. But I guess that's why it makes the show so great, because you're always like trying to figure out. It's kind of like Pokemon except with robots.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm really into like the Marvel universe, and so it's like it's similar, in, I feel like, in some regard, where it's just like so many characters, so many universes, so many different things to follow.
P Q. I almost went totally lost where. I totally almost did not remember the alphabet here.
Are you trying to continue? Is that distracting you?
QRS, no.
The worst.
E, W, X, Y, and Z. Okay, whew.
Nice.
Got through that one. Okay, cool.
That's it. Yeah. We can just finish right there. We got the alphabet down.
Drop the ball. Give it some spacing. All right, cool. And then I want to get these starting to feel a little bit better as well. So let's get our headings in here. What size is this? 32? This is our heading 1. Yeah, that could work. 20, keep our sizing consistent. I'm not a big fan of like the little like arrows or carrots. So what I usually do is just go to like UTF characters. Yeah, UTF characters. And then I just grab arrow. I'll just grab one of these arrows. And that is like a nice, way nicer
It's a good hack to do it, yeah.
than the carrots. Just copy and paste these. So I want to make these our heading ones as well. I want to make these that color. And then I think I'll do something like this.
Yeah, and Tim just sent in the chat a link to adobeXD.uservoice.com, which is a place that you can send in your feature requests for Adobe XD. And so the team actually looks at, you know, all of the different things that you submit into that. So any feature that you're looking for that like you aren't finding in XD, like you should go to that site definitely and put in your request, and you'll probably find that it's likely that other people want that request too, and you can just sort of like uptick it.
You can upvote it, which is awesome.
Yeah, upvote it, and the team definitely looks at it for like what they want to prioritize, and they have a lot of different things they can market as sort of like this is something we are working on or something like that. So really make sure like if you're using Adobe XD or you want to use it but you aren't seeing what you want in there, like it's constantly updating, and you can like have a part of that if there's something like a type of feature or tool that you really need.
I think that's like kind of the really awesome thing about XD at the moment is that you can really have an input on how the product is like coming together. Because like I actually watch the forums all the time because a lot of the time I'll go and search like how to do this with Adobe XD, and there's almost like 100% of the time, like there's already a post on it, it's already on XD forums because there are other people just like you that want to actually see this kind of feature, this kind of like part or way to do something. And just having that ability to upvote it really helps. It kind of democratizes all of like the program, how the application is developed. And I've actually uploaded like a ton of different features, like the rulers and the guides was like one of the first things that I like.
It's like one of those common things
about.
too, like we'll hear all the time in like the chat that people want to talk about because they want it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like one of the best things about like using the Adobe apps. I remember when I was younger, like I had no clue, but now to be older, sort of a little bit longer along in my career and being able to actually have a voice to like the company that creates the tools I use every day it makes me feel really good. Like it makes me feel really happy to like and sort of prideful to be using these. So it's you know, that's like a great feature about like the Adobe suite and how the company kind of puts these apps together.
That's nice to hear.
Giving some love. I'm absolutely never ashamed to
So much love.
to
Good
say,
vibes.
like,
Good vibes in here. Other
yeah,
than Paco.
nothing but
Just
good
kidding.
vibes in the stream.
Oh, it's not Paco anymore. I don't know.
Paco's over there.
Always throwing shade.
Yeah, always good vibes in the stream for sure. Gonna get my spacing right here. Okay. So it would be kind of fun if we could just kind of go through, let's see. So we have to get all the way to S. And I think maybe we just start at S for this like demonstration maybe. And then we're just gonna name our first bot Sideswipe. So that this way when we go to the prototype, we could say that you can click in the index, you can go, I want it to slide right, and so let's see how that works. Oh, we gotta make that active.
Tim in the chat bringing up past fears of mine. It's true, I need to be nice to Paco or he'll bring up, we have like this running, I don't know, prank war.
Paco's running the
war.
stream.
Paco runs this place, man. No, I'm just kidding. I'm scared of Paco. No, like I can't. Paco won't let me say it, but no, just kidding. We have like new people in the room too. We need to like bring Jacob in one of these streams.
Jacob's been awesome.
Jacob's great.
For the time I've
He's
been
been
here,
nice to me so far.
Jacob's been really nice to me.
Shout out to Jacob. But yeah, last few seconds, we're going to be moving over to look at some...
22 seconds.
Yeah.
Just hurry up and submit all
Submit
of
on
those.
Discord. Last few seconds. I'm going to let John go through and like we can take a look at sort of what we have, and then we'll head on over to the design stuff. So.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing. I want to just drop this in as a... Let's just say this is going to be our like splash screen moment. If I can get it. All right. Let's just do the countdown.
Yeah, all right. You ready?
Yeah, you know
okay.
what? Like, I think let's look at some work,
Let's
and
look at some
then maybe we
designs.
can review all once I get that.
Yeah, we'll
splash
come back
screen.
and we'll take a look, and we'll sort of like take a look at everything that we've gotten through here. Okay, so we're gonna be taking a look at the Daily Creative Challenge, and again, it was the search and filter. So design a search experience that allows users to quickly filter and find relevant food options. So let's see what we have right now. Deanna, let's check out this mobile app.
Food mood.
Food mood.
I'm always in a food mood.
Are you?
Always. I'm always hungry. It's so hard to deal with my stomach.
Food mood. So we have our starter screen here. Log in, sign up. It's not hooked up, but we'll take a look at the other screens.
Hello, Amberly. Saying hi to everyone in the chat.
Nice. And then we have our last screen here, food mood.
Okay, cool.
What are you in the mood for? Type of food?
I could go for some tacos.
Yeah.
Tacos. I could always go for sushi. Oh man, this is bad for me because I'm just gonna get hungry on the stream right now.
I like the. Just kidding. I'm already moody. Log in instead.
Great copy.
Sassy. Yeah. I think this is a great start. Like you are thinking through the different like experiences that you have. So the next thing to do like would also definitely be to like hook this up in prototype mode. But like you have the idea of like you need to log in or sign up, right? But if you do go in to log in, you have that information here.
Yep.
And then once you're in, like your next state, and like you chose a nice like color palette, I'd say, right? Like it seems like you're thinking through those different pieces as well.
Feels
and
very
have,
artisanal.
Like, yeah, it does. Yeah, I think this is a great start. And obviously, like you have items where it looks like you'd be like swiping through. So you have like the different categories, your food types, your quick picks, your past moods, and then you could hook those up, make it a drag and a swipe, and like start to feel out how those different like cards and pieces are working. Yeah, I think the only other thing is we could probably play a little bit more with like some of the spacing here. It's like a little close between like the text of like the tacos and sushi. I'd probably give it like a little bit more padding between those elements just to give a little bit more white space. And you could probably just do that a little bit throughout so it just like breathes a little bit more.
Yeah, it feels a little tight, so it kind of feels like you're gonna be squashing the whole thing. You still want to be able to see the label a little bit when it's under. It doesn't want to be so like high up under the icon that you could still read it.
Yeah, and just like I think just starting to think about like the padding and spacing. Like you have a large padding here, but you could probably do the same for the top, or like how much are you giving on the different sides. But this looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sending this in. All right, we have another entry here.
Food. A lot of people
Food.
food.
I like that. I could see like the speed already, just like getting food. I'm in. I'm
What
sold.
kind,
Just
is it a
off that
food
now.
delivery? Because it just
Food
seems
delivery
like I'm gonna get
application,
it quickly.
yeah. It is. I wonder what the choice of the hook on the end of the D is. All right, so we have the story. Okay. Also, I like that you're like when it comes to like posting things on Behance that you've added like sort of like a description as to like a little bit of information around the designs and like a little backstory and context. You have your color palette that you chose.
Awesome. It's always nice to see those little elements because I think like color is something that can be overlooked really quickly, but giving it a little space to actually shine. Maybe even talking about why you chose those colors would be great too.
Get the fonts. We have a splash screen.
Some awesome icons there.
Select a restaurant, choose dishes, fast delivery. And then home screen. So let's play this.
Cool.
Nice. I like how it's just like a fade, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's naturally sort of the interaction you would expect.
Nice. Vertical or horizontal scrolling. Cool. Great little
Looks
demonstration
good.
you got going. I think that's also one of the great things about XD is that you can record all your mouse movements and, you know, being able to do that and then being able to just like export it right to Behance like this gives like plenty of overview of what the project could, or some of the features that you worked on or some of the interactions. That can go a long way when you're like applying for jobs or looking for new clients and things like that.
Definitely. So this is for order history.
This is from yesterday, yeah.
Ooh, that's a clean interaction
Yep.
right there.
It's almost like a receipt.
Yeah. Search and filter. Wow, you got through quite a lot on this.
Who is this? They did so
All right,
much
so this
work.
is the search and filter. Clicking through. I do like how you have like a fixed scroll there, like at the top. I'm gonna go
I
back
like that
to that.
little.
Like how your search here is staying fixed. So even though you have like all the elements below it, when they come up, like as you're going through, like you still might want to like research for something. So the fact that that is staying fixed at the top is really nice. Ratings, tags, really well done. Yeah, I'd say the only other thing I would comment on is like thinking through maybe like the color palette. Like the colors are really vibrant.
That green is
the green is
radiating right now.
Yeah.
It's very bright.
Yeah, and with like the white on the green also, like for legibility, it could be a little hard to read. I'm imagining it, like I'm seeing it also pretty large because it's on the screen, but on my phone, it would probably be pretty small. So it might be a little hard to see. And also going back to the colors then here, just like with color combinations, like because you happen to have like the green and the red and the yellow, like, you know, it's obviously kind of alluding to the like stop, go, slow down, but then because it has those meanings, like it's kind of an odd thing with like login versus sign up. Like the red, it almost seems like I shouldn't do that, like I should stop and I shouldn't sign up. I know, so I like sort of where you're going with your color choices, but I would definitely think about, and this green looks a little bit darker, just like picking maybe a different tone for that green would be really nice. But you got a lot done in the time, which is awesome. And you like have hooked everything up really nicely. Like the interactions are really well thought through.
Yeah, and this is like a perfect opportunity. You know, you have all these great interactions. Now just go back and put a little bit of polish on the project, and this will be looking like top. This will be looking really good.
Sweet. Yeah, and I like,
All the icons look really great. I think that kind of icon in the search and filter one that was like affixed to the right looked awesome as well.
Yeah, that was an interesting, like fun little UI choice there. Yeah, the guy at the bottom.
Picked a lot of great images of pizza. You know, people love that. That looks awesome. Great job on
You're gonna
that.
make me hungry. We've been here during food times.
Yeah, I missed lunch today, so I'm starving.
Let's see if. Oh no, are you really?
Oh, I'm gonna eat after this. It's okay.
More submissions. Okay, wait. I'm going to make this full screen here. I'm going to take a look at another submission. But thank you for sending that one in. It was great. Great job. Moving on to our next submission here. Let's take a look at this prototype.
This is looking really good too. Past orders.
Oh, interesting. Okay, a little.
I like that, having it fixed to the right a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of similar,
Oh, you
like
can
we were
even
talking
drag.
about. Whoa.
What is that?
So we have star, date. So those are all your filters on the side. Interesting.
It's
a very
definitely
cool
a different
concept.
dynamic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that looks like really cool to be able to adjust. And I think like maybe something to think about is that like in the order that you drag those items, is it sort of like waterfall down? So if it's like the price or the date and then whatever is next, does that also filter into the rest of them? I think maybe if that's not the case, then maybe having an active state on which one's selected could help. But it's kind of cool how you're like dragging them around and showing that like you can kind of filter and use this combination of filters. So great, really great thinking on that one.
Yeah, it's a really interesting concept. It's similar to like how you've been working on like that hot scroll for your search with like all the letters on the side, like thinking through how people are actually using their phones and things like that. Any thoughts on like visual design?
I think some of the food items, like it feels some of them. I think maybe spacing could really help here. I think like giving a little bit of spacing between your like restaurant name and then wherever the like a little information below 16 free delivery. It sort of all starts to melt together, and that would seem like kind of big or like kind of important information to call out for a user. So like the fact that it's free delivery, maybe even thinking about like, do you want to put that into like a circle or some kind of like highlight it in a way that separates it from the rest of the text. And then I think the ratings right now are sort of disappearing. So like the star ratings in the right corner, that yellow is starting to just disappear with the white. So maybe making that darker, or thinking about maybe even like putting it in the image in some way could help that along.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if you move forward with it, it's just like visually when I first see it, there's so much going on and my eye kind of runs all over the place. And I think it's, a matter of giving yourself a little bit more spacing and also thinking about the moments you really want to use your color or not use it. Like you have, like discount, good prices, like you really want to give emphasis to it, but it also is causing me to look at a bunch of different areas because you have that orange and save your money also, and there's like large type and smaller type. So I'd say you could probably also like just make this the black text, and that might help with also just like not causing my eye to look at like all over the place all at once.
I mean, and also like don't be afraid to use like underlines, or like maybe using like a slightly more opaque kind of like black. So like giving a little transparency to some of those could help, could kind of push, but it's all something that you have to test and see what really starts to work there.
That looks it looks great though. So thank you for submitting. We will go through and see if there are any other submissions.
There's still there's a lot from like the last challenge.
What was this one? Hunger.
Wow.
That's me. Hungry. All right, so we could do a couple things. Research our favorites or click on.
There's a ton of different options here. I like this.
We might search my favorite.
Okay.
My foodie favorites. Let's see. Go.
You gotta click search again.
Search for your craving. Pasta.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, getting so hungry. Italian. So you can filter, which is very nice.
Okay, cool. What's next?
Like how you like it's hooked up, so it's like you're filtering for it, and you can unselect it as well. Yep. All right, so going back. So this is my home. Nice. Okay, so search. Going through.
Pasta, Italian. Okay,
you
cool.
Can close out that as well.
Yeah. So you're showing a lot of like the little kind of like micro interactions between like when you select it or when you enter in text in the search bar, being able to show like that close button or like delete it. That always really helps. And I think like something maybe to think about for those like sort by cuisine, like when it's selected as Italian, do all those other options or all those other topics potentially disappear? Right now like Italian is selected, does Chinese, Greek, and seafood disappear? And then, when it does, can you jump back and select those again? I think that kind of helps.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think that this looks really, I like that you thought through like not just having like your search and getting results, but like the tags are like a nice addition to like for your filtering option, which is, a pretty common way, but also like, thinking through like how you want those tags to work. Like, are they alphabetical or are they not? And like, what happens when you're really like selecting or deselecting a couple of those? Like, it'd be fun to see that like prototyped
And
out.
the colors you kind of have are slightly like off. I think like you could almost just stick with like the brighter orange and the brighter blue and just use those across all of them, or just kind of interweave some additional color for those tags, because some of them start to like pop out more than the other.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like the orange with this like off black, like dark gray, and then like your white is sort of like your main colors like seem to be working really well together. Delivery to work.
Thanks, Scott, for joining us on the chat. Have a good day.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sending this in. I also like how the map is also like kind of color similar tones that you have going on. Like thinking through that is nice as well.
Yeah, it really started to like bring in a lot of brand elements. Like even though if it's just like a Google map, you can like style that in a way that still feels really good to this like specific experience that you're building. And I think that's a great example of that. Like just kind of giving that little bit more detail and that little bit of polish.
Yeah. So I think we'll look at one more. We have time really quickly, and then we're gonna jump back and let Jon sort of finish up and take a look at what he has so far. All right, so we have this one. What would you like to eat? A couple different places here, like really clean so far is what I'd say. Clicking on this, I like how, so we have the tag sort of coming down below. Selecting burger and filtering that option. Coming back in here. Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I like
this.
What does that say? 5? 5
I think
stars.
it's 5-star.
Ah, okay, perfect. And then you have that one and that pops in. I like that motion, that like little bit of slide down. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, this interaction is really nice. So I think that when you tap burger, I would think that that would fill in your search, like kind of like that next step that you already have. I think that's the only expectation I had. But otherwise, I think that like it's nice that you have like with each place, there's sort of different tags, so I can see like, oh, when I go to this one place, like these are all the different things I could get with it, like green tea, sushi, all of that.
Oh, so but it's also Brasserie Le Havre. I am terrible. So it's 5 stars,
So am I.
free delivery,
I'm not even gonna try.
burger, pizza, and cola. Okay. I kind of read those as tags at first, but I get what you're doing now. Those are like each like those are also your filters. You can click on those, and it'll only show 5 stars. I think that's really interesting. I think that would be cool to see like how that works when there's multiple 5-star restaurants in there, and like how that populates and things like that. I think that would be really interesting to continue to develop. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks great. Thank you for submitting it. Thank you all for submitting your XD Daily Creative Challenges. It's been fun to provide feedback on them.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite parts to see like what everyone's creating. I think like there's a lot of great, thinking and projects going on here. A lot of great examples of like using color and typography to kind of make things push and pull. And I think, everyone in the chat has been doing a great job over these last 2 days, so.
Yeah, so we'll let Jon finish up his designs, and maybe you can give also, like, as you keep going through, we can see where you are in your prototype, and then keep jamming in and see where we've wrapped up.
Yeah, so really quickly, while we were going through that, I just made a really quick flat, like splash screen moment, like a loading screen, and then from there, it would jump right into your home feed here. So. At the beginning of the day, we really talked about like making this like find your bot feature kind of like the main reason why you'd come here. And then I think like you can go into your podcast one, you can go into your video. I don't have this set up to be going back to your home button, so let's just make this on here. This goes back to, this is gonna go back to our home screen. Slide right, I think. That sounds about right. Cool. And then this will also go back to our slide right. Cool. So our splash, we have our choose our bot colors. Back to our media, so we can flip through tabs, tab through like video and podcast. We didn't like try to design a specific video page. I think for now you can make the case of like, you click on a video that plays in place. Let me go back to here. Then you can go into like your index tab here, and if you click side swipe, this will bring you to like the specific character page.
Nice.
And I also want to go and make this page, this also click back to our home page, because then I'm going to walk through. So when you're here, if you find a Transformers robot or something you don't know, like we're gonna just go through this process here. So our Transformers bot is black. It is a car. And just by showing this grid, I can tell that this car looks like this one. I would click it. And then I'd be shown all this information about Sideswipe. He's an Autobot, he's a Generation 1, and he's created in 1984. And there's a little bit more information here. He's nearly the equal of his twin brother, Sunstreaker, in the combat arts. Yeah, like, already I'm like invested into the Sideswipe, and I've now reconnected.
He has an evil twin. Is that what you're just
I guess so.
Sunstreaker? Is that
Sunstreaker is his twin. I don't know if he's
S and S that's happening in both of them. The twin thing. That's crazy.
I don't know if he's a Decepticon or an Autobot. Maybe that's like a great, great moment to like, instead of having Sunstreaker just as text, maybe you can click on that, and that would link you to Sunstreaker's page. That would be really cool. And then under that we have, we have our tech specs here. We have our additional modes, and then we have also some figure history that we can kind of dive into. And then, yeah, for the most part, I think like that's our functionality for the 2 days. I think, some of the things I'd want to be able to further develop, maybe kind of build out more character page elements, or like have a couple more fields in there. I think there's a lot of information about like additional action figures or something. I think I'd want to go into this index a little bit, and then maybe try to do, like the subcategories. Actually, we could probably knock those out. There's a lot of series, different year and generation. We probably want to do that at some point as well. And then I'd probably want to start to think about like, do the form of what the Transformers are. Do they actually have icons? Are there images, or are there examples? I think like you could start kind of like, once you have this like rough prototype and you start testing it, you can actually start getting like feedback and seeing like where the gaps and where the holes are, because I think that's like really part of the whole process of using XD, creating these new products.
I do think the icon thing would be cool, like how you talked about with like the car and truck and plane and like futuristic, like being able to see like a couple different would be like a fun visual on that one too.
The quicker you can recognize like what it is, the quicker you'll be able to find what your Transformer is, right? In the grand scheme of this app, so that would be really cool. And then, yeah, I think also what I would love to do, I think eventually, and maybe this is kind of where I get into like a little bit of After Effects and a little bit more of XD, is like starting to animate when we get into the moments of like our tech specs here. So like maybe when you land on this page, every time like the bars would rise up or kind of go from like left to right. That would be cool. It kind of draws your eye, draws your attention to that part of the page. And I think that would be a really interesting moment. Maybe we can kind of do something like that right now.
And I think it's just the auto animate, like making it a drag for your cards.
So let's see. So if we're here, let's try and do this with this one. And then auto.
You have to make another artboard though.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So let's duplicate this. Character screen 2. And we're just gonna make it click to here. Auto animate. And then I want this to be, I want this to be here. And then maybe it does that too. Maybe it does both of them. So if we click that, nope, wrong one. Let's get to here, auto animate, character screen 2. I gotta be able to click back to this. This way we can see it. All right, so let's see how that works. Okay, cool. You got it, it works.
Yes.
We'd probably want to put a little bit more finesse into that. Maybe, let's see. Maybe we can see if we mess around with the settings a little bit.
And that's the thing, like with auto animate and like with the prototyping tools, like you can start to play with and feel out like all the different interactions, and you could start to actually with auto animate like get some pretty powerful interactions versus just like the standard like transitions of like sliding or fade, like dissolve and things like that.
Yeah, I think also this is going to be auto animate. This is drag, right? This will be our drag moment. Choose artboard. No.
I think it's good to see, like, do you have the screen from, like, where we started, like, where you were?
Yeah.
From, like, and I think, like, yeah, like, going all the way out, like, pulling out, like, from the beginning of the day, like, started with just, like, the wireframes and have ended up going into, like, a lot of, like, the visual designs today and bringing in the images and, like, talking through the process of typography and fonts and everything like that, which has been amazing to go through. So we appreciate everyone who's been with us and Jon for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the stream.
It's been awesome. So thank you all so much for joining us on Adobe Live and checking us out. Jon has been designing in Adobe XD. It's been awesome, and yeah,
had so much fun. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me in the chat. Thank you so much, Danielle, for guiding me through this, and I hope everyone's learned something and you know, enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you guys.